afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Caroline Chukwuma, and I am the Student Recruitment Associate for MBA. I'm delighted to introduce the host of this event, Marie, and also the career rep, Santiago.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So I am Marie Holif. I'm an MBA career coach at the Career Center, and I support the MBA students. I am also a global MBA alumni, so I've been a student, and really delighted to take you through what the Career Center can help you with if you join the London Business School MBA.
Hi everyone, my name's Santiago Fernandez. I'm an MBA 2021, so I've just started the course in August. In addition to that, I'm also one of the career representatives for my stream. So I work closely with Marie in helping to ensure that all the career objectives of the people that I study with are being met and everyone's happy with the experience that they have with the Career Center.
So let's start by talking about the 2-year MBA, because the fact that it's a 2-year MBA at London Business School gives you a unique opportunity to make the best of it. As you have 2 years, you'll get to do summer internships after the first year. You can do international exchange the second year. For example, I spent a year at Columbia Business School. And then you have more time to explore your career options, to evaluate after your internships, what you really liked, what you didn't. And you really have a lot of things to get involved with at the school, like the clubs, the projects. And I'm sure Santi will talk more about that as a student of all the different things you can do.
Yeah, so just as using myself as an example, there's plenty that you can do. I have chosen to join the Student Association as a treasurer and help with the funding and planning of activities of all the different clubs around campus. And I'm also part of the PE and VC club as a VP for marketing, and that I help them in advertising the events and conferences that they will be creating throughout the year, and that's in line with what I want to do post MBA.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and on your CV, it will help you differentiate yourself if you're taking an active part in those clubs and even a leadership position like Santi. So as a summary, it's one MBA, but actually it's 500 different MBAs, because each one of you will have a unique individual journey and that you can tailor based on what you love. So you have the alumni network you can take advantage of. You can select the type of talks and lectures or events at the school or outside the school you can join. There are hundreds of clubs you can be a part of. And then obviously all the internships. There is a very full job portal that will give you access to a lot of opportunities. And the Career Center, because here we are to talk about the Career Center. Santi, you want to add something?
Yes, so just to add to what Marie's saying, using the Career Center, it's extremely comprehensive and of invaluable resource. I myself have been using it since the beginning of the start of the course, and it's really helped me define and refine my path and exactly the process I have to follow in order to get towards the internships that I'm looking for this summer.
Thank you, Santi. This is a great transition to tell you a bit more about what the Career Center actually offers. So there are 4 major components to what we provide the student with. First, there is a career and professional development curriculum. So you can sign up to workshops and online resources to help you think about your career, but also develop the core skills you will need. For example, this morning I held a workshop on prepare for interviews, challenging questions that interviewers can ask you. The second big pocket is career coaching. So you have unlimited access to coaches, so you can book, as many career coaching sessions that you need, and those one-on-one sessions, you'll be able to reflect on your experience, explore your career options, and really have a sounding board with each of us to help you, define your next steps. Employment insights, we also have a employer engagement team, and this team has expertise in different sectors like PE, VC, diversified sectors, consulting. So those experts have really primary relationships with recruiters, and they will be able to bring the expertise in the sessions you can book with them, also one-on-one, and help you, prepare, but also decide if it's actually the career you want to have. And there will be a range of events organized by the employee engagement team where you have career insights and you can network with your future employers. Okay. Now, obviously, each one of you is interested in the MBA for different reasons. Some of you might want to change career. Some of you might want to stay in the same company but accelerate the career, get bigger leadership opportunities. Some of you might want to be an entrepreneur and create their own business. Or maybe you don't know. You want to explore a number of options and you want time to think about that. So, I don't know about you guys and your particular stories, but actually you can be in any of those categories and we will tailor the services to each of you. Okay, so I wanted to give you a little overview of the journey, a typical career timeline for an MBA at London Business School. So in year one, term one, and this is what Santi is actually doing, so we'll hear what he's been doing there. This part is really to think about core career skills development. So for example, build your career vision. Think about what career options are in front of you, what are your favorite ones, and start talking to people that are knowledgeable about those options. How do you feel about this first part of the journey, Santi?
Well, I feel like I've had an amazing experience. I was really amazed by the ability for the Career Center to guide us as students, and particularly guide each of us regardless of where we were with in our careers, in our view of what we wanted to do in our career. Particularly in one session, developing your career plan, regardless of whether we are completely exploring our careers or whether we knew exactly what career we wanted to go to. The Career Center had very distinct frameworks on how to move forward on that and how to build a plan in order for you to put yourself in the best position to achieve that. For me, I came in knowing that I wanted to go into the investment banking industry in London. And what these sessions have helped me able to do is help me get an understanding of what the landscape currently is in London and the specific process that I would be going through, and finally what skills I would need to show from my previous career in order to transition into this new one.
Fantastic. And I remember, some of the things that Santi and his peers are coming up with is career criteria. What is important to you as you're thinking about your next steps? Work-life balance, or to be challenged all the time, or you want to be in a very structured environment, or actually you want to be able to do different jobs and it's more of an entrepreneurial culture that is a good fit for you. So you can really experiment and get feedback on what it is actually then to make that career choice. There is also resources around building connections. So we help you network and how you do that. And we also help you with things that, are not always fun to do, but like updating your CV and making it actually very tailored to the job you're applying for, cover letters, and as I said earlier, interview preparation. So really that first term is getting you ready to apply. Then terms 2 and 3, obviously you started having coffee chats, with prospective employers, and kind of fine-tuning your career goals for the internship. We're not talking about full-time jobs at this stage, but you're going to start interviewing for internship opportunities. And that's happening, from January for structured recruiting, and actually across a number of months when it's more unstructured recruiting. And obviously I haven't talked about that, but you also have your classes as you go, and you can see through the classes what you're really excited about. So that's another feedback loop for you, is looking at, what classes you're really passionate about. Then a key part of the journey is your summer internship, because this will be one of the explorations where you can really assess if that was right for you. And when you come back from the internship, sometimes it's converted into a full-time job offer for the following year, and sometimes you realize actually this wasn't for you. So this is another time where the Career Center is a critical part of the journey, because we debrief on the summer internships and we reevaluate career options with you. And in the year 2, based on your choices, this is where you could have that global business experience. You can make an international exchange. And then this is the time where you're going to actually apply for your full-time position, capitalizing on everything you learned that first year. And it's, from an academic standpoint, it's more tailored because it's an electives time. So you're going to be able to select your classes and really adapt that to your ultimate goal. Okay, now a bit more about the type of support you get from the Career Center. We divide it into 3 categories. So career coaches, so that's me. And what we focus on is helping people, think about their career options, preparing them for interviews and helping them achieve those goals. I would say that type of support is strategic and maybe not sector specific in general, but obviously depending on where you are in your journey, we can be more specific. However, if you have very specific questions about sectors, then the employer engagement team is really the team to go for. And that's what we call sector specialists. So as I said, you have finance specialist, consulting specialist, diversified sector specialist. I mean, it's a really knowledgeable team that you have access to. And finally, peer leaders, because I haven't mentioned that, but actually your peers are going to be a huge resource for you. And we actually working with the experts, for example, sponsored consulted students that are willing to help their peers, and they become part of the Career Center offering peer sessions to the other students. And for them, it's a leadership opportunity to help other students. And we have this comment from Stephanie, as she's a student. I'll let you read it, Santi, but I think it's a very good example of how she benefited from the Career Center support.
Sure. So she mentioned that peer support, and specifically the Career Center's use of student knowledge and expertise, was key in helping me to transition to my current role with McKinsey. The Career Center organized numerous CV workshops, coaching sessions, and case workshops. These were led by peers or second-year students who either worked in consulting or had recently been successful during the consulting recruitment process. Their experience, guidance, and support was invaluable, and I believe it really helped me receive my employment offer. And just to add, I might suggest to add my personal experience. I've had encounters with career coaches, sector specialists, and peer leaders myself. In terms of the career coaches, I've worked very closely with Marie, specifically in building my CV. And to be honest, this was an area that I was never very confident in. My CV was something I was never really confident about coming into the course. And after one session with Marie, after she's completely tore it apart and then built it back up, I feel much better in putting it out there, and have been able to get quite a good response with the employers that I'm looking to work with. With sector specialists, for example, Alexandra, who leads in the investment banking division, she's been really helpful with helping me understand the landscape, as I mentioned, and specifically what my unique proposition may be for the work that I'm trying to do, and what skills I may have that these companies may find value in transferring over. And finally, as a career rep, one of my responsibilities is to really build these opportunities for other students to meet with people with experience, either from the other courses or from the year above, and really help guide them and provide them the inside look at either what they had to do in order to get their opportunities, or what the experience is like. And it's amazing to see how what you'll find is how receptive people are to, and how open they are to sharing their experiences and really helping you understand what you need to do and what to expect from the job when you're actually doing it. If only as long as you ask and are proactive about reaching out, or using the career center as the platform to do that.
Yes, and that's why the role of career rep is really important. And with Santi and the other career reps, we meet on a regular basis, and we get feedback from students and also needs or aspirations that they have. And actually, obviously, when it comes from a peer and is taking the lead, students are also very receptive. So it's kind of a voice with the students. And I really enjoy that partnership because I feel that we are as close as the students as we can, and we can adapt on a timely basis to the needs of the students. Now, one of the key offerings at the beginning of the journey is sessions that are organized by the sector leads, and it's called Explore Careers in Series. And you have one for consulting, banking, technology, private equity. I mean, you can see the list on the slide. It's so rich, and it's an amazing way to boost your own research about the sector, because obviously those people have often worked in the sectors, they connected to recruiters, and they give you that download in one session, and that gives you that lay of the land, as Santi mentioned, kind of the landscape, what recruiters will be looking for, and even just pragmatic information about like recruitment timelines. When do you need to apply? Because what LBS is able to do is also to have specific and LBS only application deadlines for students. And a lot of those companies are coming on campus, as I'm going to show you in the following slides. So just to give you an idea, per year or academic year, we get 200 plus presentations and employer events on campus. So for example, clean tech networking evening, buy-side networking evening, technology recruitment and networking evening. I mean, you name it. Health, innovators, employer presentations, office visits. It's not on the list, but last week was actually the reading week, where a lot of treks are happening. They're organized by the employee engagement team. And what happens in those treks is, for example, you go to Dublin and there are visits organized with Google and Facebook and all those companies. And during only a couple of days, you really get to meet those employers. That was for the tech track that just happened, but it's actually sector specific often.
I mean, I guess just to add to that, this is just really looking at this. This is really only just a sample of the available resources, because what it also doesn't show is LBS's great touch, digital touch, and digital access to mentors and people in industry and their networks. They give you access to mentors around the world if you need through platform called LBS Hub that allows you to contact really anyone, anyone around the world who may have a semblance of experience in the area that you're looking at, and that allows you to build your global network and to build your understanding of all the available opportunities through LBS for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And obviously, as you can expect, there is also LBS job boards for students and alumni, and there are around 3,000 postings annually. But also you have access to certain websites like Glassdoors and just all of that as part of the LBS offerings. And it's kind of limited, so you have to be selective about what you going for. Now, I want to get into the type of hiring you get. So first, we divide it in two buckets: what we call structured hirings, where all those companies, as an example, because they are more than that, but they come into campus and they're going to have that very structured hiring process for LBS MBA students, and depending on your level of seniority, you might experience like two types of hiring: that structured hiring, but then you can also go into what we call direct hiring. So this is a bit less structured, and the timelines are not as defined, but this is just an overview of other companies that are coming to campus. I mean, you can see startups, VCs, scale-ups in there, and they also have those great relationships with LBS, but I would say they wouldn't have specific dates for the recruitment. It will be more on a need basis and also on a relationship basis as you're meeting those companies. Now, I want to spend some time for people that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, because LBS has really a unique offering there. And actually, I've met with the head of the entrepreneurship department, and it's really amazing what she offers. So not only you have events programs, so for example on Tuesday evenings you have a lot of trainings for people. What do you need to know in legal, what do you need to know in finance if you're going to create your company, and all the key subjects for people that have never created the company they have to think about. Then this is another mentoring group that you have access to on top of the LBS hub that Santi mentioned. Those are actually entrepreneur mentors. I think at the moment there are 20 of them, and they are by sector, and they make themselves available to students. You actually get the email and you can reach out to them and set up appointments. There is also an incubator program, so that this is for people with a specific idea. It's a very selective program because it's very, very popular. And in this incubator program, you actually get to around £200,000 of support if you selected to be part of that program. You get facilities at the school and a number of services that the school, because they have special connections with companies like banks to get credit, a number of things, and the value also is quite tremendous, and they don't ask for any equity in exchange. Okay, and obviously you get to use the LBS brand. So this is just a little overview of the resources, but for entrepreneurs, it's like a school within the school. And when you're really committed to doing that, you actually can do the summer entrepreneurship school instead of an internship, and that would also validate your MBA. Now, to wrap up, I wanted to talk about the MBA 2018 class. This is actually the latest employment report that we have, because for the 2019 class is actually being prepared at the moment. But just to give you a little overview of what we have, the stats are amazing. As you all know, the London Business School MBA has again been ranked first by the Financial Times. 94% of graduates had accepted an offer within 3 months after graduations. 53% stay in the UK. 28 students have started a new business, and this number has been increasing over the years. And 23% took roles in technology sector firms. I wanted to highlight that because actually also it's been a growing number, and you have less people going into finance, more people going into tech. A little map to show you, where MBAs went, and actually to 36 countries around the world. So if people didn't stay in the UK, they didn't necessarily go back to their home country, but they went elsewhere in some of the emerging countries. You can see that Asia is high on the list, Europe, and obviously US and Latin America. But the biggest portion staying in the UK, it's one of the motivations for people to do the MBA here, is to strengthen the network in the UK and to stay here. And then here's a little stats about, what they did pre-MBA and what did they end up doing post-MBA. So you can see that consulting is number one in terms of, percentages. So only 26% pre-MBA, but then 37% after the MBA. You have to keep in mind that also you have a lot of sponsored students that are going back to their firms. Finance, little decrease there, and it's because people are going into tech. And then technology has been really trendy, and our tech sector lead is very busy. But the diversified sector has been reduced a little bit because it's also going into tech versus staying in diversified. Okay. Now, before we move to the Q&A part, just wanted to see if Sandy had another story wanted to share about his exchange with the Career Center.
Sure. Well, yeah, as I've mentioned a lot about my story, I guess I can share a bit more about what I do and what how I've been working with other students to really help fulfill their career objectives. So as I mentioned, as a career rep, my goal is not only to look out for my own career objectives, but for my classmates. And what that has meant is really looking at what my classmates want to do as careers and trying to find new avenues or make those avenues more frequent for them. So one event that we've been having, that we've started to hold, are small dinners where we bring in people either from the year above, the MBAs above, or from a different course, and sit down over dinner to talk about what their experience was, either through their internship or if they're an alum, what it is like now being in the job. This has been really fantastic for our classmates who are exploring what different careers they want to look into, and also students who know they want to go into this career and are now looking to what the process is to get in. I think I'd also want to mention just how, it's hard to capture how vast the amount of resources that LBS has available to students between your peers, the Career Center, who really makes an effort to make sure that you are able to get the summer internship that you want, and after that get the full-time employment that you want. There's a numerous job boards that they make available to you that are updated very frequently, that allow you to get internships whenever you feel that you may want to take them. So as one example, I later this afternoon have an interview for a part-time internship for my next term. And so that flexibility to really craft the journey that you want, the career journey that you want right from the beginning of your course is really there because of all the resources that LBS gives to you. And it's really just your job to be proactive and really take responsibility in tailoring it for yourself.
Thank you so much, Sanji. I also wanted to share a little bit more about my personal story, as I am an alum. And in my career, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of executive coaches that have helped me all along my career, that were paid by my company. And thanks to that and my focus on development, I've had jobs as an engineer, an auditor, a project leader, a finance director, a CFO, and also a managing director. And then 2 years ago, after an executive career that I really loved, I decided to leave because I wanted more balance in my life. And I wanted to have time to reflect. And at this time, I also leveraged a coach. And I realized that people was a consistent theme in my journey, the thing that really I was passionate about. And then I thought about the coaches I've had and how instrumental they were in my career. So I thought, why not become a coach? And this is what I did. And now I really enjoy supporting students think about their own journey and finding their purpose, because this is an amazing time in your life where you take time off work, where you can really focus on thinking of your journey. And it's a time in your life where you can really go in so many different directions. And it's really valuable to do that now versus, towards the end of your career. So what I would say from the Career Center, my story is not a unique story because there are a lot of people that are coaches today in the Career Center that have had corporate careers beforehand. And so you get really access to all that experience and to people that are passionate about helping you. So with that, I'm going to turn over to you for questions. And what's going to happen is you can submit them, I believe, in the chat box, and then we'll see them appear on the screen and answer your question. So let's give us a few minutes to just collect the questions and I'll come back to you. Okay. So the first question is about Brexit. How timely this is. It's a hot topic for sure. And we actually have a team that is supporting students with visas and helping them to figure out, how this is impacting them. There are a number of solutions, and we haven't seen an impact in terms of, how many students are coming to LBS. Actually, the numbers have grown every single year. But yes, I cannot predict the future. There might be difficulties to secure internships and full-time jobs. So what I would say is, there will be support. along the line. And obviously, the more you build a strong network, the more you get this opportunity to be sponsored and to get those jobs in London if this is what you want. There is a question from Alexander, I believe, to can a prospective student contact Career Center to discuss the MBA goals? So what I would recommend here is to contact the recruitment team. There is an email here, is mba@london.edu, and this team is dedicated to help you assess if the MBA is right for you. And once you're in, the Career Center will be there. So we're getting a few more questions in. Just give us a minute. So there is a question from Harish. I understand that LBS MBA has various exit points, 15 months, 18 months, and 21 months. This is correct, and it's actually a great advantage of LBS because you have that flexibility. Now, from my experience, I think a lot of people are actually taking the longer version of that because they want to experiment as much as possible. They're often doing at least 2 internships, part-time internships, as Santi mentioned. Now, how does recruiting vary across those different exit points? It's a good question. I mean, for the part of the structured recruiting is usually early on, so you can, secure that full-time internship or full-time job early in the process. Now, for the direct hires, this is much more flexible. So I guess it's on a case-by-case basis. But the employers, it's really when they need you. So if it's structured recruiting, you get to have that within the 15 months. But then for direct hire, it will be on a need basis.
I guess I'll just add to that from the experience of going through these recruitments right now. Regardless of whether you're planning to do the 15, 18, or 21 month exit point, you do get the opportunity for the summer internship, which is really fantastic. The only difference I would say between these exit points is the opportunity to do more internships in the following year on a part-time capability. A lot of students who pursue the 21-month exit point do so that they can add on another 2 or 3 internships throughout the next year. But then there are other students who choose the 15-month either to return back to their job or whatever reason they may have. But that's really, I'd say, a key difference. It's just one of the key differences.
Yes. Now, a question from Abhinav, what are the ways in which I can contribute to the LBS community? This is a great question. I mean, there are so many ways where you can have an impact. I mean, first with the Career Center, by becoming, for example, a peer leader because you're bringing an expertise and you want to mentor other students and really share your experience. Another way, like Santi is doing, and it's wonderful for us to have him, is because he's passionate about career and helping the other students, maximize the MBAs, is working with the Career Center this way. But when you think about the LBS community, back to the earlier slide I showed you, you have the LBS clubs. So in the clubs, they're very active. You can take a leadership role with those clubs and be a committee member. You can participate in competitions. You can create your own club. I think there is a yoga club that was created this year, and the few students I met are very passionate about it. So the list is limited. I don't know if you have other examples, Sanji, but I think almost it's overwhelming sometimes because you have so many things you can get involved into that you have to select what's the most important to you.
Yeah, there's really a beauty about LBS and their openness to really just the demands and the interests of all their students. As Marie mentioned, if there isn't a club that is currently available for students, many students just decide to start up the club from scratch and just ask other people who are also interested to group together and to really form these clubs. In addition to that, there's many people organize their own treks, either through clubs or even just on their own, in order to bring their fellow classmates to their country to give them an experience of what it was like for them growing up in the countries that they were in. And there are internship opportunities, as I mentioned, that you can do all throughout the year, either on a part-time basis or in the summer full-time. There's just really, you can dip your toe into any type of activity that you want, and there is most likely going to be infrastructure around it or support to help you kind of make that a success if that's of interest with your other classmates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw you kind of rebounded on that. What you said earlier, Santiago, about those part-time internship opportunities, maybe it's less known when you're prospective students, but this is definitely an option. And what happens is probably, I mean, not in term one, when it's kind of the core and foundation courses that you have and you're very busy trying to figure out what you want to do. But later in that year and also in the second year, you can do 2 days a week, 1 day a week, after classes in the evenings. A lot of companies are interested in getting that resource, and Santi is very early to apply for that, but you know it's happening for sure, and it helps your CV because you can add all those internships to your professional experience, and it shows that you can multitask.
I guess I'll just add a bit of light, exactly to what Marie mentioned. LBS bases itself on its flexibility, and that's exactly what you get. Throughout the year, there are many companies who are looking for part-time hires. It's important to note that you will be doing the work in parallel with your academic courses. So it's important to be able to gauge and really know your limits on what you will be able to do. That being said, as you go through the course, and if you look through the whole program, there's a lot more flexibility in the way you can take your classes, whether you do it intensively for a week or maybe during the evenings. You can, as the course goes on, you get more flexibility on how you want to structure your week and the time that you're actually in school to accommodate for these opportunities. So you really are granted a lot of flexibility to tailor your experience as you would like it.
Mm-hmm. There are two questions that are asking the same thing about marketing related jobs. So do you get specific support? So we're not talking about sectors, but more like functional roles. The answer is yes. Actually, some of the coaches have had marketing roles prior to becoming a coach, so you can get that. But your sector leads, because I guess it's marketing roles also in a specific sector, the employer engagement team will be able to guide you in terms of the type of roles that are more typical for the MBAs. What I would say is also your marketing classes will be another source of information, and there are a number of those. And obviously, you know, how those roles are called in different companies, and then you could also ask employers as they come to campus, you know, what about marketing? Okay, so that's a great question. Now, there's a group of questions around London. Are all internships in London? Can we have internships outside London? Is it easy or difficult to find a job in London? So not all internships are in London. Actually, we're looking more like kind of maybe 50% in London and then all over the world. I would say in terms of finding a job in London, yes, it can be challenging, especially because we don't know what's going to happen with visas, but we definitely have stories of people that were not from the UK and that got jobs here, so it's possible. But the networking and your performance in the internship will be very critical to secure those jobs. So yeah, it will be on a case-by-case basis. Annie has a nice question, and I think I can talk through that. What is one thing you wished you knew looking back about the school, or specifically the Career Center? So I did my MBA back in 2011. Actually, I didn't know much about the Career Center and all those resources. I mean, it was also a part-time MBA, so I didn't have that much time because I was working. I was going half in Columbia Business School, half in London Business School. I think I would have loved to leverage a coach and get that reflection with the Career Center. I think full-time MBAs get much more time to do that than maybe executive MBAs. So this is a clear advantage, and I'm every day amazed by how much you guys can get out of that. Great question. Sayu, so may I know if one wants to switch career from finance to tech, but do not have engineering background, coding technical experience, will that switch still be possible to be made based on your experience? So I attended recently, actually, the Explore in Tech career series organized by David Morris, who is the sector lead for that. And his answer to that question, which is a very popular question, is no. You don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to have a tech background. However, it's highly recommended to have some basic knowledge about SQL, for example. And this is something that the students that want to switch from another sector to tech are working on. We have, outside curriculum classes that are offered. The Tech Club is very active in providing, the guidance around that. So I would say basic knowledge, but overall you don't need to have that prior to joining LBS, but you can acquire it. I think what's important when you go to tech is to really be passionate about the product and obviously do your research on the product, understand how it works. And then for programming languages and SQL, and it is more being able to understand that language at a level where you can have conversations and express the requirements so that team can design the right solution for the customers if you're in more of a client facing role. There is a easy question from Sudarshan. Does have additional degrees like CFA actually enhance your ability to get employed? From my experience as a recruiter myself, the answer is yes. Because qualified accountants are very looked after, engineers. So I would say all your previous experiences will matter and degrees. Then it's more really being consistent in where you want to go and why, right? Because then they will look at your story as a whole and what led you to do the MBA. And then does it all make sense to move to that career? And do you have the skills to do that? Oh, Sayu say, thank you so much, Marie. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I think we've answered most of the questions. So Rohit, you have a question. I think might be good to follow up on also with the MBA at London EDU. I'll tell you what I know, but I don't know everything about that. You asked about how the Career Center support candidates looking to pursue a career in emerging technologies such as blockchain and AI. So we have a sector lead that looks after VC, And a lot of those, startups are actually about blockchain and AI. So there is a tech week. There are a lot of events where you can meet a lot of experts. I believe also that there are more classes and are now being offered on the subjects, especially when you go to electives. So I would say, yes, to a certain extent, you'll have access to that, but you'll have to own your journey and go after the information and identify the right people to talk to. Okay, but for people who have follow-up questions, or if we haven't answered fully to some of the questions, please don't hesitate to send that to mba@london.edu, and Caroline and her team will come back to you guys. Thank you so much for all your great questions, and I hope that gave you the insights you were looking for.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and keep in touch.
Bye-bye.